Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here, and I've got a treat for you here. This is the H8K2, the aerial cruiser of Japan, another flying boat announced after the S-25 Sunderland short. So, what is it? How does it fly? How's it going to compare to the other flying boats? And then I'm going to throw in a little nostalgia about what flying the flying boats has been in War Thunder over the various patches, and kind of I'm gonna talk a little bit about the heyday of PBY Catalinas especially. But anyway, the creation of the giant H8K2 flying boat was a planned step by Japan in the development of its military doctrine. The appearance of the British S-25 Sunderland, which we have, and the American ex-PBS-1 flying boats created a higher bar for modern flying boats. At the beginning of 1938, the Empire of Japan needed a scout, bomber, torpedo plane to replace the H8K, or the Sea Dragon, which was outdated by the time it went into mass production. Engineers at the Kawanishi Aircraft Company took on the responsibility of creating a new Japanese superweapon. The flying boat was given the chief role in some rather, to put it lightly, ambitious military operations, like the second attack on Pearl Harbor. Apart from everything else, the design process took into account mistakes made with the H8K. For example, an armored backrest was installed for pilots and gunners. A system was developed to fill the fuel tanks with inert gas, and several of the tanks were partially protected. So, let's take a look at this bad boy. Just looking at it, like, it's a very well and highly detailed model. It just shines when they have it in this kind of like default, garage of emptiness, kind of like the room in the Matrix where you find all the secret weapons, right? Maybe this were all secret document and secret vehicle being held, yes? But this thing is gorgeous. It's got quite a big assortment of weaponry, which we'll look into, right? But before we do that, let's compare the H8K with the H6K, which we already have in game, and the recently announced S-25 Sunderland, right? So let's look at the overall length of the aircraft. The H8K comes in at 92 feet, the H6K 84 feet, and the Sunderland 85 feet long. This is the length of the fuselage itself, so it makes it the largest flying boat that we have to this point, and probably will remain for a while until we get maybe some Blom & Voss 222s or maybe the 238s, but that's just me getting excited. So the wingspan of the H8K. Now, it says here that the wingspan is 43 meters, but if you look at the paper stats, elsewhere, the H8K2 had a wingspan of 124 feet, which is shorter than the H6K's 131 feet. However, I think there's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy, and there's obviously different variations. And then you have the Sunderland's 112 feet. So the Sunderland has a much shorter, snubby wingspan versus the H6K or the H8K. And then we've got the height of the aircraft themselves. The Sunderland wins with 32 feet. H6K is the smallest at only 20 feet. And then the height of the H8K is actually relatively close to the Sunderland at 30 feet tall. Max speed, however, the H8K really shows its modernization and its development in Japanese engineering. Nippon! But the max speed of the H8K is 290 miles per hour versus the H6K at 211 and the Sunderland at 210. And now let's look at climb rate. 8.1 meters per second on the H8K. That's not too bad. That's fairly decent for the size of the aircraft that it is. Versus the H6K, which only has 6.1 meters per second, and the Sunderland, the lumbering Sunderland, coming in at 3.67 meters per second. But now we're going to get to guns, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. The first thing you'll notice is the plane size. The H8K2 is a big flying boat. It has a wingspan of 38 meters. The largest aircraft in the game, the American B-29, has a wingspan of 43. It's four 15 30 horsepower Mitsubishi Kaisei 12 engines are each raised a safe distance above the surface of the water. Its defensive weaponry, this is, I think, is the highlight of it, man. It's going to be a flying boat Death Star. The defensive weaponry consists of 20mm automatic cannons on the upper and rear turrets and 7.7mm machine guns in the teardrop turrets on the side. Now, I think that, I don't know actually, because the H8K on Wikipedia said it had 5 20mm guns and 5 7.7mm guns. So it's got 10 guns overall. Then you look at the H6K, which has 4 7.7s and 1 20mm right on the tail section, which made it such a terror to get behind, flying low-tier aircraft. And then you look at the Sunderland, which is a bristling porcupine of pea shooters. Bristling porcupine of pea shooters. Repeat that 10 times. 16 7.7s, and then maybe the one we might have 2 50 caliber machine guns. But right now, I would take the H8K's armament just because of the put-down power, the destructive abilities of the 20mm versus what seemingly is just a woefully ineffective choice of defensive armament that seems to just be British doctrine in those poor little 7.7s. So the H8K2's solid defenses, the 5 20mm cannons and the 5 7.7mm machine guns, armored crew seats, and a well-thought-out fuel protection system made this flying monster a truly tough nut to crack. According to the tales of American pilots, multiple fighters attacking a single H8K2 could fully exhaust their ammunition without even forcing the H8K2 down. That kind of reminds me of the early days of the PBY Catalina, man. Those things were literally flying tanks. They were tier 1 aircraft at a time when there was the 20 tiers. And oh my gosh, the amount of trolling that was used in those planes, like that's where ramming really became a thing. Because you would expend all of your ammunition into this PBY, you'd catch an engine on fire, and you just look in shock and horror at realizing that what you really didn't do anything at all. This was before people really thought to like, oh, let's aim for the engines, and this was in an earlier stage of development of War Thunder, and people would then ram PBYs in mass. It was truly a fun time to be a part of War Thunder. It was my early informative days in War Thunder, and patch 1.27 I dare say might be the patch of, oh man, the Hellcat in the PBY Catalina for me. But oh, and remember the money you could make back then? Oh gosh. So we plan to add the H8K2 to Japan's air fleet at rank 2. It is a comparatively slow bomber torpedo aircraft with good defensive armament and fire protection on the fuel tanks, things that were solely lacking on the H6K. The aircraft carries a bomb load of 2,000 kilograms of bombs or torpedoes and is capable of both destroying ground and sea targets and successfully attacking enemy bases. So this thing's going to be, I'm going to call it the, amphibious the floating Death Star. We'll do that. The floating Death Star. The H8K2 is undoubtedly interesting addition to War Thunder in update 1.57. So the trend right now, if you think about it, is we've got the S-25 Sunderland. The Americans have a PBY Catalina already. Japanese already have an H6K. So that will effectively mean that the other two nations that need flying boats would be Germany and Russia. And if you look at Russia, I know they had some Lend-Lease Catalinas. There's already a premium Catalina for them. Actually, the Germans, all they have right now is the HE51 Hydro version. But some BV222s or even maybe the BV238, they're just the absolute beast that was, which we can discuss in another video, would be a really, really fun addition. So, I'm gonna put in the comments and the video description below a little bit my top 5 flying boat videos that I think I've ever produced in the 3 years that I've been making War Thunder videos. And if you'd like to check them out, please do. They're from different stages in the game, different patches, all kind, and some of them are custom battles, some of them are funny. But the H8K and the PBY for me will always have a special place in my heart because I nicknamed the PBY was nicknamed the Sky Whale by the community. I did not do that single-handedly. I simply also used that nomenclature, but then I called the H8K the Sea Dragon as a result of it having to fight the mighty Sky Whale in combat, because I've often been a big fan of silly and derpy aircraft and just silly and derpiness in general, right? So what we're gonna see now is how how the H8K got its name. And then after you're done checking that out, if you want more Sea Dragon and Sky Whale videos, more float stuff, check out the list of videos in the video description or in the first comment below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. And that is the H8K, basically the floating Death Star, because it's going to be incredibly powerful and incredibly good at shooting any planes that choose to attack it, given the various coverage of machine guns and cannons that it has. Plus it's got 520s, man, and it's got a pretty good field of fire on all of those, so it's gonna be hard to find a weak spot to attack this from. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, now I give you the storytelling of the Sea Dragon.
Pew! So Baron, tell us how the Sky Whale and the Sky Dragon are going endangered, or
there was once a story told long ago
that I forgot.
It was told to the first human who spent 2 years learning the language of the sea people. There was the Sea Dragon, and he was the mightiest of all of the sea creatures. But there was one who was very jealous. His name was Sky Whale, and Sky Whale was a major dick. He was not nice to anybody because he was ashamed of himself. Was he a bird or was he a fish? Nobody cared and nobody liked him. And your laughter is making it hard to keep my accent right now.
That was awesome, dude. It was like a movie trailer.
This is definitely movie trailer for Sea Dragon. Damn it! Cut. Take 2.